Perfect. Oops. ASMR.
Because your set is really looking good.
It's great
Much
to have
better
it in
than
the
before.
basement again.
It looks.
Yeah, it feels good. Yeah.
You ever consider starting to wear a hat?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Why?
You just look a little disheveled.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh man, I always try and routinely try and go without the hat, and I'm like, no, I can't even look at even look at that.
That's what I had to run upstairs for. I was like, geez, I'm not going live without a hat here. It's a bad idea.
Yeah. Here. There it is.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
well I'm not quite there yet. We are live now, just so you know. Ta-da, ta-da. I'm a few years away from there though. I'm racing to catch up. Just like we're trying to catch you on shows, I'm also trying to catch you on baldness.
Yeah, you can.
So is Graham. It's a three-way.
Yeah.
Graham's looking good.
All right, we're good to go here. I'm gonna hit the record button.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, we can talk about whatever the fuck, man. It don't matter. Yeah, all good.
All right, strap in, buckle up. We got Alex back. Alex from Skeptiko, the host of Skeptiko, and he's got a new book coming out at some point. We'll see if he can finish it off, called Why Evil Matters. It's a pretty heavy topic, but it's appropriate timing. Lots has gone on since we scheduled this, which was only a couple of weeks ago. I mean, how much has happened in this evil world of ours? So, oh my God. I mean, I heard you talking about the stuff that's going on in the future here and on your other shows and approaching this. So anyways, great book. Loved reading it and listening to your past shows, and I really appreciate you coming back on, Alex. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. You guys know I love Grimerica, the deepest heart of my being. You know, come for the banter, stay for the interviews. That's what I say.
Thanks, buddy. That's awesome. I like that.
Thanks,
Come
Alex.
for the banter, stay for the interviews. I've got some notes here, some quotes from our past guests, because Alex was like, well, I want to, see what some of your past guests said about evil. So, because I mean, ever since we had Grant Cameron on a few years ago, it got me thinking about evil in a different way, because Grant is like, no, there's no good or evil. And then I know you've had him on a couple times, so it's really got my mind bouncing back and forth on what evil really is, and whether it's just subjective thing or whether it's really out there.
Well, I am a big fan of the show and I listen to the shows, and I think it's been a thread that pops up, even if you don't want it to, in a lot of different ways. And I think, maybe one of the things we'll get into is what I'm really pushing for is not like a definition of evil or a comparison of evil. And is a drone strike worse than sexual abuse of a kid? That seems like such a lose-lose deal. My thing is like, geez, can't we do better than where we're at now? And particularly, my thing has always been consciousness. And we still got all these people in science who supposedly science, but they completely deny, and we forget it. We forget this fact, but they are not down with evil at all. Evil is in quote marks. Evil is a social construct, right? It's like something that we create, invent, we call, but there isn't any real evil. So we got that, bracketed on one side. And then on the other side, we got these religious nuts who are like, oh no, man, I'll tell you exactly what it is. And it's just this. And I will define it for you. And I will tell you, when you're out of line.
Yeah.
And kind of what's brought me to this point is like, if you like the path I went on, like you just dive into like near-death experience research, totally redefines what you might think of evil. Total redefinition, doesn't fit in science, doesn't fit in goofy, crazy, cultish religion. It's something brand new. And then if you really start looking, there's a lot of, wisdom around this that doesn't fit neatly into these other categories. So I think we can do better. And that's why Why Evil Matters is like, we can do better at trying to, I guess, figure this out a little bit. I mean, it's kind of impossible to say we're going to figure it out.
No, but you can start talking about it at least. I mean, I like what you said about that. The materialists and the ignorance of, they have this ignorance about what's going on, right? And they, like you've quoted there, it's not about belief. You're saying it's not about belief because they're saying, well, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. It's because they believe it is. Well, and like you're saying, no, it's bigger than that. It's way more important than that. It is. What if it is real? And I mean, like we know from people that have been looking at the extended consciousness and magic and all this stuff, like if there is a ritual ceremonial aspect to this, that could be pretty heavy and pretty scary. And we should know about that. But we can't even tease that apart from Epstein and 14-year-olds. I mean, this is the problem. It all gets lumped into one intangible, thing that's going on in the world. We don't know. We have all these numbers because when we think about evil, and I can't believe you said the same thing, because my mind goes there when I think about evil. What is it? It's messing with kids, whether it's sexual abuse or killing them or whatever. The whole adrenochrome thing, that whole thing seems like the epitome of evil. But it's tied into this whole thing where there's overblown numbers of, there's 800,000 missing kids a year. Like, where are people getting these numbers from? That's not helping. I don't think that's helping the cause.
I figured out where that number comes from. That's the number of kids that go missing every year. But like 90, a lot of them are 95% of them or 98% of them go back.
Yeah.
That's just a number of reports.
That's kind of what I thought. Number of reports.
And probably half of those are like panic, like your kid's on the other side of the block and you're like, holy fuck, my kid's missing.
Yeah. So they misconstrue that, I would say. It's not fair to say people get the sense that,
well, not somebody's taking that number and running with it.
That's what I mean. It's not, it doesn't help the case at all. It's you've got that on the one extreme, and then you've got the other extreme where people are just ignoring I don't even want to use satanic because it's not fair to really use that word because it seems just evil, but it might not be satanic. For some people, they might be doing a ritual ceremony that's not to Satan. It might be to something else, but that just gets ignored completely. Oh, it's not happening. People can't even talk about it.
What do you think about that? Why do you kind of pull up on the satanic thing? I mean, just take that, swallow that satanic ritual abuse. There's these people.
Because I feel like it's got that religious connotation to it. That might not be fair to people. There might be people that have a different view of Satan. I mean, we've heard it before. I'm not defending it at all. But like John Brisson was asking you, maybe you should, why can't we just call it ritual abuse, right? Or maybe ceremonial ritual abuse.
I don't think that's where John's coming from. John's a hardcore Christian.
Yeah, he was asking you why you can't. Why do you call it satanic if you're not coming from that Christian side? Why does it get all lumped into that? I don't think that's
the problem
a fair
with these
thing.
Frickin' Christians. That's how these Christians are frickin' complicit in this shit, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, but that's part of the problem, I think, with the whole argument is just taking evil to that scale where we have to go to satanic ritual abuse of kids. Like, I mean, just go on Twitter for fucking 10 minutes. There's evil fucking everywhere. Every one of us has a little bit of evil in us, and you got to be careful not to let that shit out. I mean, we could just, I don't know, I feel like when you do start looking at that, it kind of gives you a scapegoat to ignore the guy that's maybe, getting over on his workers or beating his wife or fucking fill in the blank. Like, isn't that all evil? That's more at a level
obvious.
where you can, it's at a level where maybe you can do something about it too. Or most of all, you could just not be evil.
I have a quote here from the secret societies of all ages and countries, and it says, because as we knew we were going to be doing this, I was starting to pull out quotes and stuff.
From the books. I like that.
For there is a legitimate and necessary hatred, that of evil, which forms the salvation of nations. Woe to the people that knows not how to hate, because evil is intolerance, hypocrisy, superstition, and slavery. That's them defining evil like over 100 years ago.
Yeah, like Amazon's pretty fucking evil.
See, like they're saying hypocrisy is evil.
Yeah. Like this is the thing I've been running into that is kind of really interesting to me because like where you guys are taking it is where everybody takes it. But that's never what I was thinking of. I mean, what I was always thinking of is like, you know, the reason to kind of go totally extreme, like in the book, there's an interview with Annika Lucas, who I connected with because she's a yogi. She's not a Christian, you know, she's a yogi. And she's set up this awesome program in New York where she helps incarcerated women through yoga empowerment kind of thing. And I like her yoga vibe, and I like what she says about yoga because I think she's onto something. Because so many of those yoga people are creeps. They're fucking creeps. That's just what they are. And she's not, you know. But so the interesting thing about Annika, though, is that she was sold by her mother at 6 years old into a satanic ritual abuse cult in Belgium. And this is the cult that was all over the news in the 90s. This was huge because they busted this cult, and it was the same thing. It goes all the way up to the highest level inside, not just the government in Belgium, but throughout Europe. And that's her testimony, that she was raped as a tiny little kid by these world leader kind of things, you know? So the thing about that is it kind of leapfrog all over all this, you know, is Amazon evil? And I don't know, the guy who just dropped off the package at my house, he looked cool, you know? No, that's evil. That we can go, no, full stop. I don't know. There's a lot of gray, but that's evil. And the thing about it that I think is easy to overlook is those people who were doing that to Annika and who were eventually going to kill her because she was like literally on the chopping block, you know, like the blood-soaked chopping block that she had seen other kids killed on. And again, this is a real case in Belgium. You can go look it up and see the horrific pictures. Of course, it was kind of like our thing now, you know, this outcry, you know, we got to get these guys. And then, you know, 10 years later, like none of them go to prison, you know, all of them get off kind of thing. But there was this, we're going to drain the swamp over there in Belgium. They're saying the same thing 10 years ago. But these people, they weren't just doing it for their own gratification. Because you got to realize the other thing is, and like you were mentioning the interview I had with Gordon, the one thing I just, when people attach sex to this, of course, it's sexual abuse, but this isn't about sex, right? This is about like some really, really dark stuff. It's really not, you know, it's not about sex in the way we'd normally think about it. And the second part is these people are explicitly connecting with this extended realm, if you will. You know, we're in this realm, we're in our day-to-day reality. And then we talk about ayahuasca, we talked about near-death experience or after death, all that stuff. If you just want to if you just want to say, okay, all that is some kind of extended reality outside of our time space, hey, they'll tell you they were explicitly trying to connect, trying to feed into and exchange energy in some kind of really dark way. So I kind of like that because that drives a stake in the ground and makes clear what we're talking about when we talk about evil. So I don't know if Amazon is evil, or I don't know if that guy who, you know, ripped somebody off, you know, if he's evil. And I think from like the near-death experience stuff that there'll be some life review and that person will have to judge themselves as to what they did. But we're talking about a whole different class of thing here. When we talk about people who are engaged in and believe fully, because it's true, that they are connecting with beings in another dimension in order to bring that stuff into here, that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, and it's because it's underestimated, because the media won't touch it. And there's no more journalists that are really, there's a very few that are touching it. And it's the power of it is underestimated, I think. What if all these people that are doing that are opening up something they can't control? And where's that going? Where's that energy going? All the people that survive it or don't survive it, but how many people I know personally that have been abused when they're young and they have demonic attacks as they're older? You know, incubus, succubus. How many people are still traumatized from abuse from being kids? So if they survive it, and how many doors are staying open from that? I mean, thousands and thousands of portals or doors or whatever, or energy beings or entities, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think that it just gets that whole thing just gets thrown under the rug about how powerful that this could be in an evil way. Now, the problem is what if these people are like you and Grant touched on it a lot about the addiction part. I mean, you know, at one point I was addicted to cocaine and alcohol, and I lost my choice. I lost a choice. When you're in the depths of addiction, you don't have a choice. Are these people addicted to this? Whether it's the blood or the sex or the ritual or the power? Are they evil if they've lost their choice and they're addicted? Is it the act that's evil? I mean, if you tease it apart into one act at a time, like.
What do you think? What do you think on all that, Darren? You're kind of quiet. What do you think about? You think it's fair to call stuff evil? What do you think we're talking about when we do that?
Yeah, I think it's fair to call stuff evil. I just think you guys are talking about the extreme far end of the spectrum of evil. Well, I think it's dangerous to just sort of isolate it there.
Well, I don't think he's isolating it. He's just he's putting a stake at saying like there is no question. This is
so that evil, that's the ultimate evil. Then that's where we're pegging it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, because like I mean,
because
I
the
don't think
problem
you
with
guys.
that is you start talking about that, and a lot of people's eyes just glaze over. I mean, you can say look at this and look at that, but it's just.
Why?
I mean, that's just the world we live in.
But the glaze over in what way?
I don't have the answer of why. I don't have the answer of why. But if you go out to a normal group of people and start talking about sex cults and adrenochrome and stuff like that, I mean, it's more ubiquitous now than it's ever been, but you're still losing people. You're losing people. Well, and I'm not saying you're losing me, but you're losing people.
Totally. No doubt. Please unsubscribe. That's my motto.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, thank God you thank God, yeah. But you addressed the Pizzagate thing and you took your beating for it, right? But I appreciate your gusto to just stay with it, because there was enough evidence there. There is enough evidence. It was misportrayed in the media so bad. It's still there, you know, at some level. So I really appreciate you just following that as well, because look it's more like
I don't think that matters. I don't think that matters anyway. I mean, but back to Darren's point, we can only handle so much too, all of us, we're trying to deal with all sorts of stuff. And I think the evil stuff deeply, deeply triggers us, because if you know that's out there to that extent, and again, this is where I think, I really come down on Christianity really hard lately, and it's really turning off a lot of people. But it's like, 10 years ago, I was really, the realization for me that science was this kind of cult. It was this organized effort to sell you this biological robot meaningless universe thing. That wasn't accidental.
It's engineered. It is.
It was engineered.
Yep.
And I couldn't stop pounding on that point, because to me, like, everyone was like, no, there's good. I know a good guy. He's a professor. So now I'm kind of on religion.
That's kind of the part of the problem, though, is you just kind of is when you look at that far end stake, is you get complacent and you end up, sort of where we are today, where we're okay with all sorts of evil all over the place. We're just okay with it. It's fine. Look, every fucking day, every one of us across the board are just turning a blind eye because, most of us are powerless to affect it. But I mean, let's be honest, there's a whole lot of fucking evil flying around all over the place. And I feel like we've become to the point where we're just okay with it on these smaller levels. And until it gets to this tipping point, whatever.
I've been going the other way with religion in a way. I've been talking to some friends that seem to be going more towards Christ consciousness, let's say, or Christianity even. I mean, because it's being so demonized, it's almost an underdog now. I mean, seeing all the blatant symbolism in the media, the corporations, these secret societies, it's all over the place now. 666 everywhere. They're throwing it in your face. So to me, it's like, well, if they're doing that, if this whole, you could say it's a global movement, a symbolic global technocratic takeover right now. It's not symbolic. They're using symbolism. It's a real takeover. It's against religion. It's against some religions. I mean, I think it could be strewn. So it's almost, I almost sympathize with the Christians.
See, it's funny because I hear what both of you are saying, and I think it's so freaking true. I mean, because Darren, what you're putting your finger on is, I think this, one, people are weary because they're like, in a 5-round UFC fight in the 5th round, they're just like, man, what are they going to hit me with next? But the other thing is, I think we're exposed now to the darkest of the dark. Like, I just told the story about Annika Lucas, and I've told it so many times, it's no problem for me to talk about it. And you know what? People have heard it. It's no problem for them to hear it. Now, you think back, we're both old enough, 20 years ago, if someone said that in public, you just wouldn't even, you'd think they're crazy, number one, but you wouldn't be able to process it. Now we process that. So I think that's part of that weariness, that round 5 of the UFC fight. They're throwing more stuff at me, and I know how dark it is if I really want to go there. So it's just like, enough. And then on the other hand, I think I identify with what you're saying, Graham. People are like, throw me a life raft. I don't give a crap, I just need to get back in the boat, but the problem with that, and I think this is what you guys are about and what you do, because your show is not just the entertainment show. It's entertaining, but it's not about the entertainment. It's the truth, man. If Christianity is fundamentally a cult, if they're fundamentally saying that, the most important relationship you could possibly have is that relationship with whatever is that ultimate higher spirit or force. And as soon as you let someone else define what that relationship is, no, that ain't good.
Well,
that
yeah,
ain't right.
That's part of the problem. It's one of those things that just sort of been hijacked. And that's one
from the beginning.
This is the
from
problem,
the beginning,
is you can go down. Well, yeah, it was something before it got big enough to get hijacked. But it's kind of like this society we live in nowadays. Is you can just go down every fucking avenue, and it's all fucking rotten apple trees, all of it, like big pharma, fucking the banking system, education,
monetary.
I mean, that's the monetary system. I mean, that's the main thing I've learned about doing a podcast for 7 years. Is they're all fucking fascist, and it's fucking disgusting. And now I just stick my head in the sand.
No, you don't stick your head in the sand.
Half in the sand. I still got like one ear out.
There was a great quote. I wrote it down here about the truth. Right? You want to know what the most evil thing you can think of is? That's the truth. That's where the truth is. I mean, that's probably what the truth is. Found that interesting.
I think the other thing with when it's all just so overwhelming, you don't know where to start. What can you do? How do we fix it? So how do we fix it, Alex?
Don't wear a mask.
Don't wear a mask, or if you have to wear a mask, wear This Is Bullshit mask. Grimerica.ca/swag.
Where is that? I don't know, but is that one of the things you do? Is just say no, I'm not sorry, and I'm not going to wear a mask. And if your business is stuck, if
someone is brainwashed into being fucking petrified about COVID, and you're in their store refusing to wear a mask, now are you fucking?
No, you don't go. You don't. Then you just say, look, until you figure shit out, I'm not coming back, right?
Because I don't want to see you on Twitter one day freaking out on some old lady about a mask.
No, I'll never do it in that way.
Because that's the thing I worry about.
Because these companies are put in a difficult position.
When I'm in public now, and I'm like, because I'm like, I don't give a fuck about COVID. It's no secret. But when I'm in Canadian Tire, I feel like, if this, like I was in Safeway the other day, me and Natasha, and we're in line behind, and this like, there's this like old dude, like this dude is like fucking 90, and he can barely fucking lift his groceries, and I'm giving this guy 10, 12 feet because he's got his mask on and he's got his gloves on and he's susceptible. And you can tell he's probably going home and watching fucking whichever news network. Pick him because they're all selling to the same shit right now. And he's petrified. So if I'm just, strutting up on him, at what point am I, being a dick?
No, I'll respect people's space. I'm talking about when you have the opportunity to say to a business that it doesn't have to comply to the government's regulations, just to say, I will come back when I don't have to wear a mask.
I don't have to wear a mask.
If it's their choice. I mean, because a lot of companies are choosing not to do it, but a lot of companies are stuck right now with those regulations.
I mean, look at it all. The fuck.
Look at you guys are down there stuck actually putting them on. I mean, I can't believe.
Didn't you have a mask on right now, actually, Alex? Is this?
If you were outside doing this, is that what that is? Oh,
yeah.
Geez. So if you were outside doing this in the backyard, would you have to have that on? Like you can take it off in your house. As soon as you leave your property, you got to have it on.
No, I don't wear it except if I go in someplace, and I try not to go in any place. I mean, I try not to trigger myself, but to your point, I try not to trigger other people. I mean, this, before we turned on hit the record button, we were kind of talking about the other side of this that doesn't always get talked about. And I mean, one other side is, and this is pretty dark in a way, but this is by far the most effective psyop, probably in history that I can. Yeah, you think of history.
World War
when did they
good one?
What was
World War II? That's different sort of psyop, though, I guess.
Yeah,
that's more of a manipulation of history.
By the number, look at by the numbers. A lot more people, and they how quickly they got everyone to fall in line.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's just whoever did it. They got such bonus points. I mean, their bonus check at the end of the year is just going to be boom through the roof. Like, well done, buddy. Yeah, we couldn't have done that better.
I can see it coming where COVID's going to be another one of these things that's going to be illegal to talk about, illegal to deny in Canada.
Oh, definitely. Isn't it already?
20 years. Yeah. Well, they're trying. They're trying to. I mean, I had one of my tweets flagged the other day because I put something about I had oxygen and frequency in the same tweet, so it automatically gets flagged.
No way.
With a
what?
COVID.
No.
Yeah.
If you put sunlight in there, you'd be deleted by now.
Disinfo, yeah. But they tried to get a thing passed in Canada where they could nail you to the wall for saying shit about COVID, but I don't think they quite got it through. I mean, they've got all the media companies in their pocket, so it doesn't really matter. Just assholes like us in our basement. I mean, we're literally in the basement.
Exactly. They have everything they need. They don't need us.
But I do feel like the first round was, let's test the public out to see how compliant they're going to be. And then they're like, you know what? We could probably get everyone masked up. And they just turn that switch then. And even though the stats are looking better, everything's looking better. So then they start falsifying the test results. Anybody that's that's apparently connected to somebody that tests positive is a case. They call it a case now. So they've redefined cases, and the media's propagating all these extra cases. I mean, it's and then they're just throwing all the laws out, you guys in the States. I mean, it's coming here too, I think, but you guys got hit pretty hard. Throw that mask on. I mean, I cannot believe they're getting away with this, but
Nenchi says he's going to do a mask bylaw for all indoor spaces in Calgary.
I wonder who pays Nenchi's bill, right? I mean, who puts all these mayors and these governors in?
We'd have to wear masks at work. Yeah. Oh no, that's not a public. Does that have to be? I don't know.
Yeah,
all indoor spaces.
But, I mean, what are they not following the data? I mean, like I was saying.
So here's the thing that I heard, and I'll have to tell you guys off air where I heard this. Not that it's super secret, but it's kind of personal. So here's what they're going to do. You heard it from me. So one, they're definitely doing the second wave thing. That's already in play, and why wouldn't they? I mean, why wouldn't they at this point? The first wave was so effective and they only gain more steam. So they do the second wave, and that bridges us to the point where they have their fake vaccine.
Yeah.
And now they have their fake vaccine, but maybe that's only 6 months from now, Christmas present or something like that. So now at this point, they got everybody just lined up like, man, juice me up with, please let it be over. And they
Yeah,
go,
let me take my mask off and get the jab. I mean, you're going to want it. Yeah.
It will be over. You just got to line up here and you just got it. And then they're going to kind of take a breather and they're going to let things get back to normal. Because the thing that I can't believe I'm talking about this because I'm totally talking on my ass here. I do all this research. I don't know crap about what I'm talking about. So just double unsubscribe. But so here's the thing. It's like this thing has been so effective that they don't even have to worry about one world government, one currency. They got to be realizing now they got the whole thing just with this. They win the whole game just by taking this all the way to the end. They got it. If they have you where you have to be vaccinated and now they have you in the database and now that's tied to financial and all the rest of it, it's over.
Yeah.
Checkmate.
Yeah, because forget about the travel, forget about the borders, forget about all that other stuff that they were raving about before. Now they've got it. They've got it. If they give you that, if they get you digitally like that, if they give you the technocratic solution to the problem reaction, the technocratic solution, then they don't have to worry about the physical borders and all the other stuff that are getting in the way now. The cities, people leaving and coming from the cities or whatever, they can get rid of. They don't even need to worry about their global warming, their Agenda 21 or 2030.
Exactly.
Fuck it.
We've
already given everybody the jab.
If they shut the fuck up about all that other stuff, I'll take the jab.
That's the good deal. That's it right there. Stop charging me carbon tax.
Just get rid of all that shit. Let me keep all my other stuff.
You've already kind of run the traps with the vax stuff, Darren. But my plan is, just find some crooked doctor either here or go down to Tijuana, give him a couple $100 and say, yeah, just leave it right here. And, I'll take care of it. And then you just mark it down on the little thing there.
Well, as if the doctors are going to take the job. I mean, they won't take it.
We need a Grimerica doctor.
I mean, the problem is,
yes,
we
exactly.
need a doctor. If you're a doctor,
we need a crooked doctor.
We need let's not call him a crooked doctor.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
We need a libertarian doctor.
A straight doctor.
Yes,
a libertarian doctor.
We need a good doctor.
Yeah. Great doctor. One that actually understands the Hippocratic Oath.
They can jab us with sugar water. They give us a prolotherapy jab, and we'll just call it the vax.
Fuck, he can give me the MMR if he wants.
Yeah. Whatever you got laying around.
I'm my luck, you're not going to get autism at my age, but I might get something. I've already got the allergy problem and shit, so what's the difference? But I don't want the new one. I feel like there's going to be something weird in that one. They're up to something. Or do you think it's all about, Dell thinks it's all just about fucking money and to start reeling that system in the adult vaccine thing.
Yeah, vaccinate the healthy, right? Get the healthy people. Why work on the 0.05% when you can work on the 99.5%?
They're already running the antibody thing, saying it's going to be tough to pin down the antibodies so they can make it an annual. Now, all of a sudden, they've got the whole world wanting this annual vaccine. They're just going to be making $1 trillion fucking a year.
It's so crazy that they even tell
and
you
the governments
the CDC's
are all going to pay
documents
for
are saying,
it. So we won't even have a choice because our governments are just going to take the money from our taxes and buy them by the fucking truckloads.
Well, they've already invested in it.
We're pre-buying them already.
I think the money's always a head fake.
Yeah.
I think the money's always a head fake.
Think so?
Always. That's what's kind of revealing. The Annika Lucas guys, what are they in it? They're not in it. These are the most powerful guys in the world. They're not in it for the quote unquote money. How much money can you effectively use?
It's the power. Yeah.
It's about something, it's about something else. It's about evil.
Yeah. Well, here, I got a quote. Can I read a quote from Eric P. Anthony? So he's talking about Lucifer, right? Because he meets Lucifer in that realm. And he says, you cannot defeat me. This is Lucifer talking to him. You cannot defeat me. If you try, I will grow more powerful and you will grow darker. So Lucifer says, your world does not know how to deal with evil. You cannot fight evil with evil. Evil is insidious. It invents problems which are impossible to solve, only to bring about endless conflict for which only evil benefits. The key is to disarm evil and to turn evil away from evil rather than fighting evil. Evil is strengthened through conflict. Does that resonate?
Not really. You know, Darren, we're both Mickey Singer fans. We were talking about that. Michael Singer, the guy who wrote the Untethered Soul book. And in a lot of ways, I think he's got a pretty good handle on this. And in terms of, it's really about the light, you know? And when you focus, the evil, you know, we're going to talk about it and all that stuff. But it's really, in the big picture, it really is about the light. Well, let me tell you about one of the people I interviewed as part of this book. I can't get enough of this guy. Can't talk about him enough because it was one of those things, you know, you guys are always reading emails you get, which is fantastic. And I never do that. I should, because I get some fantastic emails. So some of my best guests have been from people who listen to the show and go, look at this guy, dummy.
Yeah.
But I got this email from this guy. His name is Dr. Jeff Zinzer, and he's a clinical psychologist in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he's listening to the show and he says, hey, Alex, let me help you out here, bud. You don't know crap about evil and darkness. So let me tell you how it works. And he proceeds to tell me that, you know, in his clinical practice, right? So he was Texas A&M psychologist, worked in a hospital, you know, a real medical psychologist. And he gets into hypnotherapy because it's powerful. You know, hypnotherapy is super powerful for helping people fix stuff. Early on, he gets introduced to the dissociative identity disorder stuff, you know, like the split personality thing, you know, which is real. And let me digress, right? We have time, a little bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I think the dissociative identity thing is super interesting because that's another thing that just gets shit on by the science bullshit people, right? So I go and I talk to my buddy Bernardo Kastrup, Dr. Bernardo Kastrup, because he's got this great article in Scientific American about consciousness and dissociative identity disorder. He found this experiment that they did in Germany where they had this woman who had split personality, and one of her alters, as they say, was blind, right? So it's like, oh yeah, right, you know, split personality, and she's blind. Guys, they put her in the fMRI machine and her brain lights up like she's blind. She is blind. And you can't do that, right? I mean, in our neurological model, you can't like turn yourself
things on and off. Yeah.
Turn things on and off. That's our model of extended consciousness and consciousness, you know, beyond the way it's. So that's real. So put that down as, check that off as the split personality thing is real. Now here's where it gets really freaky. So Tom Zinzer is working in Grand Rapids, Michigan with people who have dissociative identity disorder and other, you know, you don't have to be all the way to a split personality to have problem with disassociation. You know, people they kind of feel weird and kind of outside of their body, or
that's kind of what I was talking about before with the abuse, right? How many people still have to deal with that? Yeah.
Totally but it gets even, check this out. So some of the people that so anyways, one day Zinzer is in the break room and this part-time secretary that he barely knows comes up and says, hey, you know, Dr. Zinzer, I couldn't help but overhear the conversation you were having with your colleagues about being at the Monroe Institute and having an out-of-body experience. He goes, yeah, I'm into that stuff. She goes, well, I got to tell you, I've been talking to a spirit and this spirit is coming through me, and this spirit really needs to talk to you. So he's like, okay, that's out there, but I'm an open guy and secure in what I know, so bring it on. So what begins as this kind of one-off channeling session becomes this incredible 15-year collaboration between this channeled spirit, excuse me, and Zinzer's patience. And I got to tell you, the thing I really liked about Zinzer is he is kind of a, despite how wacky this sounds, he is a straight-laced guy. I mean, he's doing his best. He's like transcribing all these notes, looking at, you know, what his best practices were and this and that. And the way he's using it is like the spirit is saying, oh, that guy, David, you're going to talk to him next week. He has a problem with a past life interference that's causing this or it's causing that, da, da, da. And over the 15 years, he is incredibly accurate in pinpointing these problems. And Zinzer is still approaching it like a clinical psychologist. He's putting these people under hypnotherapy. He's hypnotizing these people in a deep trance-like state. And then he's asking them, you know, like, okay, is there anyone else here that is, you know, involved in this? And then boom, this other entity is popping into that altered personality. And that's kind of the high level picture of what's going on. But here's what he tells me that's kind of, I think, getting to where you were going, Graham. He goes, it turns out that our ability with our consciousness to create these ego states, these altered personalities, is in all of us. You know, you remember as a little kid, you know, when you'd go off into that little dream space that you're in, you know, or the fantasy land that you're in, you're kind of doing that a little bit. And sometimes it gets, for some people, especially when they're traumatized, it gets worse. Well, he says specifically that that splitting kind of creates a little bit of a downgrade in your defenses in terms of allowing other entities to sometimes get involved. Now, here's what gets really interesting, right? Go back to MK Ultra. What were they doing?
Yep, traumatized.
They were intentionally trying to take little kids and traumatize them, and even sometimes sexually. Or you go, and why were they doing it? That is throughout that literature, if you go and look at it. They were trying to split these people. I interviewed a guy named Russ Dizdar, and he's traced the whole thing down. And it's in a lot of respects, it fits into some very, very dark corners of a lot of these other things that we've seen. And there seems to be some technology to it. And then, of course, that fits back into the satanic ritual abuse thing in a way, in that it's not so much about sex, it's about traumatizing kids so that they do develop this ability to split, so that that can be, you know, used in some way. I know that's a lot to lay on the table, but
how does it, is it being used directly, do you think, or is it more of a result of it's another portal that's opened, or it's another access point for darkness? I mean, or do you think there's more of a direct technological usage?
I don't know, but I did kind of miss one point in there that I think speaks to that. Because ultimately, the Tom Zinzer interview and the conversations I've had with him since then, it's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
Because what he says is that ultimately we have free will in this.
To choose the light.
To choose the light.
Yeah, yeah.
And also that, and this is kind of a Mickey Singer kind of thing, it's an addition by subtraction thing. You know, it's like we've created this shadow within ourselves. And I love the way that, you know, Mickey talks about that. It's like a lot of it's just unintentional. You know, you perceive thing, or you're mad about something, and it just creates a little thing that, you know, triggers you, you know, in this way or that way. And the process of letting that go, going towards the light, reintegrating. And going towards the light sounds really new agey, and I'm not going there, but I'm just saying this is what Jung talks about. You know, Carl Jung is the shadow thing. It is so much more in our control, I think, than we realize.
Yeah.
So all this stuff about the darkness ain't shit, ultimately. It's all about the light. The light allows the darkness. And if you look at how we ourselves, you know, we can transcend this. We see it in our lives. Personally, we see it in our lives when we're good, when we just do good things, and not like super good things, like everything you do, you know, you can't swear, you know, don't hook up with that girl. All that stuff matters. It's just don't let your soul go there with the really bad stuff, and everything takes care of itself.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, that's kind of what I've been reading with some of our guests that have more of a like a spiritual alchemy sense of it, that the darkness, you know, your soul or the evil is almost an expression of the darkness, and you can choose to go into your inner reflectiveness. Like he says here, perspective thinking can lead to darkness and fear, which leads the mind into suffering and potentially evil. And that thinking can be balanced with an inward reflective awareness of our original being, which I would think is the light. So, I mean, I just feel like, I think I heard one of your guests talk about it doesn't even take a lot of trauma. It could be a minor thing when you're a kid, a minor thing, which kind of resonates for me because it's not always about massive trauma. But I still feel like the addictive part of it has a hold on evil. Like there's like people lose that choice. So there might be a point where you can choose the light, or you can choose to go inward and recognize that darkness and let it go, or whatever you're going to do. But there's a point where you lose that. Or there could be.
Man, I think anyone who's been down any bit of the path of addiction relates to that and understands that at some point. You know, the other thing, such a dark show, man. No one's going to listen to this thing. But I was watching the thing on Netflix the other day about Ted Bundy. Have you seen that with his tapes? The guy who actually went in and interviewed him in prison?
No, I haven't seen it.
You don't watch that stuff.
I don't watch this.
I don't blame you. I don't watch that stuff either. I'm on the evil thing now. So
I'm on
my
TV time right now is like the sixth run through of The Office.
Yes.
Really?
Oh, totally.
I just can't get enough of The Office, man. You know, I know it. It's good. Everything today is so fucking woke. I just don't have time for it. But The Office is just like, and you know, half the guys on there is woke as fuck now these days too. But there's just like this. It was like almost seems like the golden days of sitcoms in a certain way. And you go back to some like Seinfeld, or even, I mean, Seinfeld would be fucking canceled these days. Done.
You know, one of the silver linings for me on the COVID thing was, you know, all my kids came back. So my two sons are 25 and 19. They were living in New York. They came back. My daughter came back from her first year of school. She's under the roof, you know, and everyone's home. So it's great. So man, just fire up Office, start it up again. All the kids like it, but my oldest especially, he's just like, he'll just sit there and just watch one after another. And it's just like getting into a warm bath, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's genius. It's just genius stuff. Love it. Love it.
High level humor.
What's that?
There's some high level humorists in there, man. Like just some of the subtle little eye things and stuff like that. It's gold. You know what else was gold was back in the day was only the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development.
No, definitely.
Yeah, there was just the heyday of sitcoms. That shit would never get made today.
Okay, here's one for you that I've been laughing out loud at home. Short episodes, 25 minutes. But if you're investigating evil and you want a little bit of humor, What We Do in the Shadows. It's that spoof on vampires. It's hilarious.
Huh.
It's very funny. Laughing out loud to myself with this show. It's just like all the cliches for vampires, and these actors are just fantastic, and they live in this big house, and it's just priceless.
I'll check it out. Is that a Netflixer?
I don't know. I think it's FX or something like that. I think it's on cable. I don't think it's on Netflix.
Hey, not to turn it sour again, but what about Netflix? I mean, is that just like Satan Central? It's just like what you were talking about with the signaling and
Yeah,
all the
that's what I
rest of
mean.
that.
It's part of the plan. Like I feel like it's
Oh,
that's
totally.
yeah. So speaking of the part of the plan, I mean, what about this? This what's your name again? Ghislaine Maxwell getting arrested. Do you think anything's going to happen with that? I mean, you've got both sides.
they're
You know,
gonna fucking, they're gonna
I don't
sink
know.
Trump.
yeah, and then the other side
I
says,
don't
you know, the
know.
whole thing's coming down, and
I don't know how to process that. Hey, one more
Trust
more
the
show.
plan.
One more show that I throw out there that this has like become like part of my mind hacking, spiritual hacking routine. It's a miracle. Like there's this old show, it's like 20 years old on YouTube. I watch one miracle every day because they're real miracles. You know, there's stuff that like,
oh wow,
this guy's drowning, you know, and some guy jumps in the lake. This guy, the one was great. This guy is drowning. He goes after his little boat in the lake and he doesn't know how to swim and it's cold and stuff. He's drowning. He's there with this other hobbyist and with his wife. This guy emerges out of the bush with cut off jeans, swims into the lake, pulls him over to the side, and then they turn around to see where he is. And he's disappeared. It's like 40-degree weather. And this guy, it like one after another, you watch his and you go, okay, so screw all that evil stuff. You know, there's another dimension here. Like, I just think putting it all in perspective, to get too hung up on the evil stuff, to look into the abyss and to know, you know, you got to walk around this stuff and you got to avoid it. And, you know, maybe not be so mean to that 90-year-old guy, you know, that's good. But again, the evil is small potatoes. The big game is in the light, in my opinion.
yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
How do you get in there?
What does Mickey tell you, man?
Well, he tells me to wear a mask.
well, one of your interviews recently that was as simple as one phrase. You just say it. Who was it again that said it? It was like, I seek the light, or I am the
Look
light.
up.
I mean, look up. It's like that simple. Just say it.
The secret of the ascent is to always look up.
Yeah.
And you know, I love the way Mickey puts it, because it really changes the whole thing around. It's like, again, this is gonna sound like a preaching session, and it's not, because I'm just all about following the best science and the best, you know, best we can get out of whatever little tidbits of information. But maybe the light is always in us, and maybe the real problem is our blockage of the light. So you want to talk about your trauma, your addiction, your, you know, like I say,
Distraction.
I'm sitting here, distraction, exactly. You know, trying to anticipate, you know, like, what am I having for dinner while I'm having lunch? You know what I mean? It's like, or like I always say, you know, like complaining about the weather, you know, like, gee, I'm the center of the freaking universe and I need to, and the weather, it shouldn't rain on the weekend, on my weekend. You know, it's like, where am I? How did I create this mess where I'm the center of everything, kind of thing? Just letting that go a little bit. We've all experienced that. Just letting that go a little bit just feels completely different in your life. You know, it just feels like, whew.
Imagine like back in the day when the best thing you're stuck at work and you're daydreaming about sitting under a fucking tree because there's not really anything else to do. You know, like before TV and fucking Twitter and politics and all that shit came into play. I mean, there was still plenty of evil running around, but at least we were less distracted. There's probably more light.
And that distraction thing, we're in control of that, you know?
Yeah, that's
our
a
choice.
sad thing. Yeah, that's the sad thing.
But I think the hardest part is knowing what to, like Darren asked earlier, is what do you do? Like, if you know that the evil's going on and you have the opportunity to do something, what do you do to try and, you know, make people aware of, like, how do you do it without getting caught up in it? I mean, I think that's kind of the.
I tried to stop paying
secret.
taxes, but they said no.
Right.
Yeah.
They get you at the employer level because your boss won't stop paying taxes because they'll throw his ass in jail.
You know, the one question, Graham, I'd have on that, which is always my question on all that stuff, both personally, I ask myself that, you know,
Yeah,
it's like,
you have a show, you have a voice, like you're writing a book on evil, like you're doing a lot to about this already.
to what extent does it really involve me is what I always ask. Like if it really is me, you know, if it's me to jump in front of that car and pull that kid out of the way, that's me. But am I kind of putting me in there where it's not really me? You know what I mean? Because I'm doing that too, you know. Am I doing it for the clicks or for, you know, whatever, you know? And
Maybe because you know you can handle it though. I mean, you know you can handle this. A lot of people can't handle that, and it's the effort that you're putting into it. It's the intention. It doesn't even matter about the result. You're putting that into this subject, which will help. That's the way I believe it's a metaphysical thing. It's like I'm not doing it to. I don't think it's gonna. You know, no, I don't have that. I just, hey, let's just. Like both of all you guys and me, that's what we do. You know, you just see something and you see, I guess what always pushes my buttons is just kind of outrageous bullshit. You know, like science is outrageous bullshit. Religion, it's outrageous bullshit. It's cult. And you know, for, like I said, the most important relationship you can have is the relationship of your consciousness with that highest representation of light, energy, spirit, whatever. And to give that up to somebody else, say, oh, no, my friend, here's how that works. And you shall follow this. You don't need that. You already know. You can connect at any point with that. You know, just go inside and you connect. And so that's my latest thing is like, I am going to hammer, I hammer on things. I'm going to hammer on that to no end because we let all these religious people who are socially engineered, controlled, just like the rest, and we give them a big pass, and we give them a big hug, and we say, oh, man, all those Satanists and the 666, and they're so after you. Oh, gosh, poor you. No, you're complicit in this. You've created this whole mess about why people feel guilty about stuff they shouldn't feel guilty about. Heck, you guys were you know, I just talked to this awesome woman. She's got, you know, the Shattered Reality podcast, Faruja, and she's a psychic in New York. She's just a cool person. I love her interviews. And they would have burned her a few hundred years ago, burned her at the stake, killed her. That's what they did. And they're still doing it, you know, holding up their God hates fags signs and marching around the Westboro Baptist Church. No. Yeah, but you got to be careful about the middle, the spiritual middle as well. I mean, you've mentioned this recently yourself. There's the religious, there's the materialists on the other side. There's also this big spot in the middle where people don't think evil really exists either. So I think that's part of the main problem as well now and I don't even know where I stand on the whole thing. I flip-flop back and forth. Sometimes Grant Cameron makes a lot of sense to me, or like Eric P. Anthony in his thing here, where it's kind of more of a psychic state of the mind than an actual evil. So, but I think there's that whole group in the middle there as well that's just ignoring it, or they don't want to address it. I mean, I think that's who, you know, we're going to reach, or you're going to reach. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think I've heard you be alarmed at that, anyways.
Well, it's crazy from a cultural standpoint, like you're talking about. I mean, what a mixed message. On one hand, you have science, if you really drill into it, completely denying evil. Social construct, put quotes around it. It doesn't really exist because it's all in your brain. And at the same time, you got Johnny Depp and the West Memphis 3 and Duncan Trussell and Joe Rogan. I forget who I was listening to just the other day, just outed how frickin' occulted, occult friendly Joe Rogan is in kind of some very, very, again, I don't put those people down. You know, I mean, the magic people, the occult people, but I think a lot of them are very, very confused. I don't know if you saw my interview with Chris Knowles, but
oh yeah, I loved it.
We were in sync.
I was going to bring him up too, because he's just like, look, stay away from all this stuff. because it's
and I can't say that. I can't go there and say stay away from all this stuff because I think that's too simplistic too. But I get his thing.
Yeah.
He's like, man, we've been so conditioned to think, oh man, that's okay and that's cool and that's just part of music. And but I love his bottom line. Do you remember that? He goes, if you think you're going to connect with some demon that has that kind of power in your life to change your entire life, what do you have to offer them in return?
Exactly.
And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's chilling.
Yeah. Yeah. And meanwhile, you know, this materialistic scientific society that's running the show, really, our paradigm anyways, is, you know, has been created, I would say, by all the, you know, all the secret societies that all believe in a higher power. I mean, all the people that are really running it, whether it's the kind of the sort of the more bland Freemasons these days, or the Rosicrucians, or whoever, it goes all the way back thousands of years. They've always been doing this. There's been there's been sacrifices. They all believe in a higher power, and yet our community, our scientific communities, our paradigm is stuck in this materialistic thing where they don't even think evil.
That's because they want to be the higher power.
No, it's because it's all engineered. I mean, I think engineered to brainwash us. It's pretty speculative. I mean, I don't have any. I can't point to. I'd have to do some digging to point to where it actually, happened. But that's my sense.
At what point? Where we veered off the trail?
Yeah, whether it was like the 1700s or the 1900s.
Well, there's no fucking putting on the brakes now. I mean, Orwell couldn't have predicted we'd put the telly screens in our pockets and take them with us everywhere we go. I got to get off this smartphone, man. That's my next big goal.
Did you see Chris Knowles' latest blog there? The day that Ghislaine was arrested.
No, I gotta check that out.
We don't have to get into it here, but I mean, deep state connections going way back with. Basically, he connects UFOs, the occult, and Ghislaine. I mean,
what is your guys' latest take on UFOs? Because I love how we have these conversations. Everybody has these conversations, and like we don't do this, but I always like you got to have UFO in there. You got to, because it's like you can't like put it out of the. What is your latest take?
Mine is it's the same as it was a year or two ago, that there's a deep state battle over disclosure. I still think that Trump's last ditch effort could be managing this aspect of disclosure, or it's coming from the other side, the Navy. Why is the Navy involved still? How come we haven't heard from the Space Force or the Air Force? It's coming. I think it's coming to a head. We're going to see what happens. I don't know if it'll be before November or after November, but it seems to be ramping up, the whole contact thing. I mean, I saw Greer's film. I actually really liked it on the CE5s. I mean, there's a lot of people making contact on their own all over the world. That's ramping up. I mean, people like.
Well, what do you make of that guy? You've been so deep in that, not so deep, but you've been in that organization. I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's like he's like so much. He's like so many of those guys. He's 95% like spot on. You want to legit, and then he's that creepy 5%
culty.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I'll defend him. I don't care about the money he charges and all that. He's put decades and decades into this disclosure, into the movement.
He gets a pass.
And people have been making contact all over the place. I don't know if that. I mean, Chris Knowles would say, "Don't even try to do that." I kind of got off that whole wagon for a while there, because I'm like, I don't know, man. This might not be the right way to go. But then, it is increasing. It's increasing in the organic grassroots contact community. And it's also increasing you're seeing sightings now all over the place, and the mainstream media is not really making fun of it so much anymore. So it's all of a sudden become a normal part of our culture. Disclosure has pretty much happened. It's so. Just like all of a sudden we're being brainwashed into, like, we're going to look back and we're going to, in Holland, they've got 1.5 meter rule being instated in the hall. I mean, how is that slipping through? All this stuff that's slipping through.
Let's
just
talk
like
dirt
UFOs.
on people. Let's talk dirt on people. We don't have anything else to do. And we're in the evil zone anyway. So Grant, I love Grant. Obviously, I love Grant Cameron. But I kind of feel like I kind of got taken for a ride by Grant Cameron and Ray Hernandez with that free stuff. The Edgar Mitchell free organization. ET's got a bad rap. ET's really nice. ET's here to help. And, you know, the complete denial of the evil ET. And, you know, I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Dolan, but I thought Dolan made a good case. And just in general, I think that's just falling apart. The Grant Cameron, Ray Hernandez, there's no evil ET. Don't say that. ET's a liberal.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, what about just, I won't draw you into that, but what about it feels creepy to paint ET as the savior, as the bringer of spiritual light kind of thing, man.
He's a new Jesus.
Kind of.
Well,
and then
that'd be the fucking ancient aliens that people would love that.
Well,
if Jesus just comes cruising back in and he's a little gray alien and he's got his free energy UFO and Stephen Greer's his ambassador and it costs $10,000 to meet him.
I think Grant's making it more about, isn't he combining all these experiences into the same spiritual experience? Basically, there's 78 ways or 79 ways or whatever he's saying to make this contact. So I feel like he's moving away. But
he's
from
also
ET
quoting.
too.
He's quoting you right out of the free study, and he's going, "Look, it's not evil because 78.2% of people said it wasn't evil."
Yeah,
and I'm just starting to really wonder about those numbers.
Yeah, and the Greer. I mean, he'll say it's all good as well. I mean, that's what kind of got me. We had these people on. It was a great show. It was Allies of Humanity, and they've been doing these channelings for quite a while, and they've been warning people of making contact with other ETs, and that really got me thinking that we know that the government's been playing around with this stuff, and why aren't they helping us with disclosure? Why aren't they helping us with whatever problems we have? Instead, you got to go out and make your own little contact here. Meanwhile, the government's making deals in the back. Or other organizations are. I mean, it really got me thinking about what's going on here, you know?
Did you guys interview the guys from Extraordinary the Seeding?
Yes. Yes, that was really good as well.
You did a great job. That movie. What'd you think of that movie?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Yeah.
I thought it was so interesting. I mean, how do you stand up and go, that's not true?
I know. It's just
I haven't seen it. Well, wait, It was 78% of people that said ETs weren't evil, so we just said, okay, they're good. It's a democracy thing.
That was my point. That was my point too to Ray.
That's a pretty big percentage that doesn't think so. But then
what about the 15% that are getting fucked into my lab?
And that's only the sample size too. I mean, that's alarming.
But they had a reason for the rest of them eventually come around. I think it was there was something about most of the rest of them come around
to evil.
No, to thinking that it's good.
Well, yeah, so do fucking slaves and Stockholm syndrome fucking people. Abusive spouses, you know, like they all come around eventually or they don't. I'm not sure, that's the problem. Maybe democracy is evil. Whole mob rule thing. It's really not that far off of mob rule.
I was surprised you didn't get an answer in about Grant Cameron talking about the ET's politics and stuff. How there was, give him an example of an ET politic that isn't liberal. Like, really?
My favorite Grant Cameron thing.
What about their free will to come in?
And hold it. Let's just make sure we understand. Grant Cameron is fantastic.
Canadian
solid. 100%. He has done research. He has moved the ball down the field as far as anyone else. So, but we got to police our own little corner of the world here. So it's like, you can come back on. You guys had a great chat. I mean, at the end you're laughing, but you had a pretty good argument there. It was pretty good.
Now he's not doing interviews anymore. Thanks, Alex.
No, that was afterwards.
Was it after?
Yeah. He's back.
Is he back to doing interviews?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's coming out with a book pretty quick here, and maybe that was why. And Alex wanted to pick his brain about evil again. So, I mean, it's a really,
I always like this comment about he talked to the Skunk Works guy and they said they had the technology to take ET home. That's always intrigued me.
Yeah, Ben Rich.
Ben Rich. So who's Ben Rich?
He was the head of Skunk Works.
So he must have just been trolling him, or what's going on?
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know.
Dude, it's a breakaway civilization. I know that. How far do you think technology's got since then?
Not far
That's
enough.
why Trump's going to release the free energy.
You know the other Grant Cameron story?
We made it an hour and 10 minutes before Graham got to Trump's going to save the world.
I'm just kidding.
I'll say the other Grant Cameron story that I really like that not enough people picked up on, but Grant, and Grant's like we're saying, Grant's legit. I mean, he's heavy duty in the UFO stuff. And he said one time he got the meat, the sit. I said, "Hey, Grant, come on in, buddy. Dude, you are the shit. We want to work with you. We are going to start feeding you like this super secret information that nobody knows." And Grant, in his very Canadian, where is he? He's like north of Minnesota, right? He kind of
he's from Winnipeg, yeah.
Winnipeg. He goes, "Hey, no, I don't want it. Don't give me anything you're not giving anybody else. No thanks."
I love it.
That was like perfect. That's perfect. Like, fuck you. Don't play that game. You can play that game with everybody else. No, I just do my thing here. I'm fine.
Go play that game with the Blink-182 guy.
Exactly.
It is Blink-182, right?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge.
And Peter Levenda. Peter Levenda. I just did a long interview on the Peter Levenda story too, and that's very interesting.
So you think disclosure's coming this year? I mean, it's a big year.
It's already
Might as
here.
well
It's already
squeeze-
here.
Oh, we're past disclosure? We're
It's already here. They slipped it by.
after disclosure?
Graham, you're the first person I've heard. This is like one litmus test I already have. When somebody talks about UFOs and they don't mention Trump, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, I don't care if you don't like him. You can not like him. He's the president of the world.
Exactly.
And you're not factoring him in.
Yeah.
You'll talk all day long about, all the great Department of Defense and, we're going to Peter Levenda, we're going to release this. It's like, like Hillary won or something. Like, you don't think that guy has some say in it?
Oh, well, especially with his uncle and Tesla. I mean, come on, there's some connections. There's got to be connections there. But I mean, the thing that tipped me off was when these guys in the disclosure movement, like Bassett and who's the other guy that got so upset when Trump won. They were I was like, wow, these guys care that much. They're really putting it all on Hillary that much to be so hateful. Like, no matter what your political thing is, that was really alarming to me that the UFO community had that much at stake with Hillary and Podesta.
Here we are 4 years later.
Yeah. And look at how far we've come with UFOs, Jared. We've got disclosure already.
I'm going to be going to the moon for lunch in 3 years. I can't wait.
That could be the way he gets out of this.
I said I was going to stay out of politics, but I might have to endorse Kanye if he runs. I want to see Kanye, Elon, because fuck it. That should be their slogan, because fuck it.
Fuck it. My favorite Kanye line is 400 years. That's a long time, because and it was so deep. It was so deep, because they were going, you're talking about, your people, Kanye, for 400 years. He's like, it was subtle. It was really subtle. And I thought it was really powerful because he's saying like,
that's a long time.
Yeah. He's just saying, you really think it's just kind of a straight line like that of 400 years? We've done nothing. It's such a put down, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But he's like, I am so much more than for you to put me in some box. I mean, it is so condescending, so freaking condescending to say, gee, if you say it with the wrong accent, you sound like a KKK guy. But if you say it with another accent, you sound like a super empowered woke person. Oh, you've been oppressed for 400 years. And kind of goes, I ain't oppressed. I got shit going on,
Yeezy. Are you going to write a book on good next?
man, I don't know.
It might be good to see. I mean, you're gonna end up with this down
Might
in the
be good.
bottom of this dungeon, and it'll help you crawl back up. You could
That's
do
what
it like
everybody says.
you could do
That's
a
what
book
everybody says.
report on the
Everyone says, like,
miracle
you know,
show
you're
you're
gonna be-
watching.
Like, no, I mean, I don't know. I don't
just gonna
feel
stay
like,
down
I
there?
don't feel like depressed or anything. You know, it's like, I don't, it's because you're interviewing people and talking about stuff. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's more empowering, you know, to like, it does come back to what we were saying earlier. You know, when you're that punching bag, you know, that's the worst, is to at least set your feet and go, okay, I do see what's going on. And like in this, we do not have to engage in this, you know, like, again, we were saying off air at the beginning, hey, you know, well, so the worst case is they want a one world government and they want to poke everyone in the arm. That's the worst case. Like, I don't want that, but like,
Well, that's not the worst case. That's the first stage of that.
that's the
case.
first
It's
stage.
not,
I don't
yeah.
care.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that affect my life review, my life review when I die, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
In the next 10 lives that I'll live, you know, how impactful is that to that?
Well, if you get the jab, you might not get the life review. I mean, that might be taking the fucking soul right out of you.
Yeah, perhaps that's something.
It might be worse than we think.
See, now
It's
this
gonna
is the
rewrite your
point.
RNA, your DNA. I mean, it's not
this
like
is
this isn't your
exactly.
traditional vaccine. This is like we're gonna fucking put something in there and it's gonna rewire you,
No touching.
just
Well-
like they do to food and all the rest of it. So
And in a way, you know, that's what like this book is really about, because I don't have any answers, but it's like, until we can start having these conversations and move towards, you know, something that sounds a little bit more like science. Like, you know, you look at near-death experience. Near-death experience science has shifted, has, to repeat the analogy, has moved the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Right? You think differently about consciousness. You can rest assured that consciousness extends beyond bodily death. Proven conclusively, scientifically, no question. Anyone who spits out this stuff, it's not really dead. No, by the best scientists we have, they say, yeah, it's a bad term, near-death experience. They should call it death experience, because they're
exactly
clinically
certain
dead.
death. It should be certain death experience.
Yeah, certain death. You know, we've studied it in a cardiac arrest ward, so we really nailed it down. These people are dead, you know. So, but that advances things really for anyone who wants to look. You can gain a lot of, you know, think of all the superstition and all the, you know, phony baloney religious stuff. Now you can point to a body of research and you go, oh, wow, you know, I can feel pretty confident that you take the reincarnation research, you know, University of Virginia, Jim Tucker. You can look at that with confidence and say, well, there is some reality to that. I might not know everything that it means, but it shifts the reality. We can do the same thing here in understanding this kind of light darkness thing. If we can just make that kind of progress, and it's not, like I just said, it's not unreasonable to think we could, because we have in these other areas. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that specifically, Graham?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we can move it down the road. I think that's why even putting this effort and this intention into that subject creates, I think there's a metaphysical effect on that. And you're already pushing it down the road. And people are going to, you know, that with the memeology that's going on right now, and with the rest of it, bringing it to everybody's attention, I think that's a combination of, we're going to look back at this and people are going to have more of a handle on the evil that's happening underneath our noses. I think it's great. I think it's perfect timing for you to start this. I mean, honestly, you started this before all this other stuff is coming to light. But I mean, it's out there now in the mainstream, what's been going on. And now it's just for teasing out what's truth and what's been fabricated through disinformation. So I think it's good timing for all that. I mean, maybe that's part of that book, is discerning fear versus truth, you know? Because a lot of that stuff, I think, is from both sides of it, you know? They're pulling your emotions both ways. It doesn't exist. Oh, it's really bad, you know? But it's somewhere in the middle there.
Totally.
More than the average.
So from
people
that
think.
direction, then like a little patience is in order. But by then we'll all be in fucking FEMA camps. Sometimes I think that is part of the problem, you know, like when I see people wanting to tear down Western culture, I just like, maybe if we just gave this another 50 or 60 or 70 years, so it might get someplace really great. Because if I look at like the last 50 or 60, and I mean, it might not too. And I mean, it's tough to say, but we're sort of at this place with our culture where we want everything right now, and we don't really want to wait, and we don't want to, put in a ton of work for it, and we don't want to deal with the shit that's left over when we're done opening it or having it. We just want to discard that and get a new one when it, we're kind of at that sort of place where we don't have any patience. So we just want everything right now, including our perfect world, and that might cost us everything.
Well, like we were saying before, I mean, when your counterculture is supported by the mainstream media, the corporations, and big tech, it's not really a counter-revolution.
And when it's, I would argue that
it's kind of been co-opted.
And I would argue that if it's supported by the President of the United States, it's probably co-opted as well.
Yeah.
Darren, I have to say, I heard a little bit of bargaining in there. Like, when they talk about the stages of grief, you're like, man, just give me 50 more years, please. Let me get out of this thing. And then you guys can do whatever the hell you want. Bargain. Don't let it go away.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with tearing it down.
It's just weird. It's just weird to be seen it being turned down this way. Like,
yes,
I think we've all wanted to see some sort of collapse or revolution because it's needed. I mean, there's a lot of things going wrong with the system, but to see it happen this way, it's pretty disappointing.
I mean, I'm an Indian. The Canadian government hasn't done me any fucking favors, but I mean, it could be worse. And maybe it's headed in the worst way. But then when you talk about all those other things, those are all, we're moving the ball down the field on everything, including fascism.
And maybe it needs to happen in this way to wake people up. Maybe it needs to happen for the hypocrisy to be shown and the evil to come to the surface.
We've tipped the table up and everything's rolling down the field. So how do we stop certain things in their tracks? Like evil and fascism and corporatism and the corporate takeover of the free world and all of that shit.
Hey, Darren, I did an interview. I really like this guy. He's so controversial and people so hate him. Have you ever heard of Kevin Annett?
No.
The Canadian up there who exposed the residential school thing and the tens and tens of thousands of, what do you call them? We call them Native Americans.
Well, I don't know. I get away with calling us Indians, but you
can't
say that.
I listened to it. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the last one. Those only closed like 24 years ago.
They killed kids. They raped them on large scale.
Indoctrinated, all that shit. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, and they experimented on them, did all that stuff. And then the thing, the thing really me is then they did the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, So Canada got out there, okay, we're gonna straighten this out and we're gonna have a truth and all the truth's gonna come out, They do it and they said, we're modeling this after the South African reconciliation. And we're not going to prosecute anyone. And it's such another mind fuck trick, right? And this is 20 years ago this happened, right? But what they said is, because it sounds good, oh, they're Nelson Mandela, they're modeling it after that. And you go, but wait a minute. I mean, you're telling me that priest that took the leg off the piano and beat that little 8-year-old girl to death right in front of the woman who signs a sworn affidavit that says that it happens. And he says, we don't need that little frickin' squaw in church. We need you because you play the organ and we need the music. Now, why did we have to give him a total pass on this in the rec to why was that necessary to reconcile this truth? We had to not name names, not subpoena anyone. Because if you look at Kevin's work, Kevin names names. He says, this is the name of that guy who did that. And here's the sworn affidavit that I sat and witnessed and signed as a witness of the person who will go to court and say that that happened. And he's got one after another after another. But, oh, no, we got the Truth and Reconciliation and it's all okay now. Church and state combined to, decide to, pick on a group you're familiar with or there. It doesn't matter which group it is. It's just one that
Well, yeah, and I mean, you could argue that we're watching it happen right now in real time in Palestine.
Totally, yeah.
Or with Ghislaine.
Except we're doing it in such a way where we're doing it in the 21st century, and everybody knows about it. And it's like, you know what? Would we have acted any different if it was the Indians? Probably not.
And it's not just in Palestine, right? I mean,
Yemen.
We could pick all sorts of places around the world, but it's just surprising that it happened in Canada.
And small town Canada, kind of like Port Alberni. It's not.
It was a national thing. This Truth and Reconciliation thing, that was the national. And whoever was the phony baloney PM up there, it gave the big statements and all that. But the thing that got me, and like, we don't have to name names. That's the first line of the thing. It's like, okay, you tortured, murdered, sexually abused, and did illegal experiments. But wait, why don't we have to name names? Why don't we have to subpoena? Why don't we have to seek prosecution on this? Again, it's just another example. Like, we think we're in the middle of something unique, and we are. But man, there's so many stories of where they've been playing this game all along. They're just super good at this one. This is like coup de grace.
Yeah, they can't hide it anymore though, because they've got mean magic in the way. I mean, they do. They've got more people than ever know a little bit about what's going on. They see it subconsciously coming through their friends, and they can't censor everything off of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that. They're seeing it now. This has never ever been happened where everybody has access to some of this information, because it's not hard to use their own information against it. This is the beauty thing about memes. You're using their data. You're using their websites. The hypocrisy is so blatant. You're using their own quotes and statements, their own videos, getting up there and saying it. And you're putting it out there for people to, hey, look what he said 3 months ago. Hey, look what he said 2 months ago. Hey, look what he said last month.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
It could come out. I mean, it could
it
work
is different.
out. I don't know.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different with technology, with memes, with the people awakening.
Yeah.
I gotta have that faint hope. Anyway,
speaking of memes, how come your governor got to keep his winery open on the weekend, but made everyone else close theirs? Seems fucked up.
I mean, I've given up on trying to apply any logic to any of that stuff. I mean, it's just like, please.
It's bizarro world. Isn't it funny how quickly it just fell apart? I told you it was a house of cards. I've been saying it's a house of cards for years, and now it's just blowing over in the wind.
Yeah.
A little COVID blew into town and knocked over the house of cards. People are panicking. They didn't even need to bring in FEMA because we all just started ratting on each other.
Exactly. No, I mean, whoever.
What do you mean? Oh, a snitch line. Fucking, what do you mean we got 20,000 calls? It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
I'm happy I live in a community that doesn't seem to play that shit.
Yeah.
And if they do, we'll rind them up.
We'll round them up and
we'll
send them to a camp. That's the problem. Yeah.
Well, guys, we've given everybody just such a positive uplift.
That's all right. Hey, every once in a while we got to do it.
That's right. When are you coming to visit, Alex?
That's gone off the table.
I'm not coming.
I don't visit anyway. Why don't you?
I'll meet you in Oregon or in Nevada.
No.
I'm not coming to California, or I will. I'll meet you in Northern California, but I'm not going as far south as San Francisco.
Wait, let me turn the webcam out here. You can see the beach from my house.
Don't do that. They might pinpoint your house. That would be picketing you.
It's beautiful. We have the M16 set up in the back in case anyone scales the gate. You come out here. We'll get you on a surfboard. Have you ever surfed?
No, I've skimboarded. Done some skimboarding. Actually, my buddy Dave Matheson's trying to get me down there too. Is he far from you?
No, he's up in Northern California. Did you listen to the interview I did with Matheson?
I haven't, no.
another classic one-off.
I've spent the last 9 months of my life in the Dune universe, and I just wrapped it up 2 weeks ago.
The book?
All of the books. The whole saga. I think it was 13 books, like 20 hours long each. Audio
Audio.
books. Yeah, audio
Audio.
books.
Well, you drive a lot, don't you?
Yeah. I drive quite a bit, and I'm in the house poking around. I'm just listening whenever I get a minute. I drive a ton between work and hunting and fishing and just life. I drive and retarded.
So I always hear your stories. I mean, it's like it's so stereotypical of Canadians, right? That's oh yeah, we took a little 12-hour jaunt over to here. Oh yeah, it was okay. It's like Jesus Christ, we never drive like that in our life.
It's beautiful. We should drive up and meet in Oregon someplace.
I ain't driving nowhere, man. I don't even get in a car. I just ride my little bike around.
Nice. That's awesome.
What about fly? Do you fly? Well, we're going to fly to Florida. Florida's probably going to be closed for a while.
Yeah.
Mickey ain't going to let anybody in for a fucking while. That's for sure.
Christmas.
Christmas? Is that what he said? Or that's what you're saying?
That's what they said. That's what they said.
That's what they said?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But that'll be wave 2.
No, because then they'll have the
jab.
Yeah.
So we'll need our certificate of immunity before we can
Exactly.
go into the Church of Humanity or whatever it is.
Yeah. You'll get the tattoo.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Even if it's microscopic, I'm going to say, nah, just give me a barcode.
Yeah. Give me the old-fashioned one.
Give me the old-fashioned one. Yeah. You fucks.
I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah. Right on. Well, what else we got to get to before we wrap this up?
I'm good.
When's the book coming out?
October.
October?
Yeah. It's on pre-order, though.
Is it?
Really?
Pre-order your copy.
Well, we'll definitely
Skeptiko.com.
plug it when it comes out. And yeah, thanks for coming on, Alex. And thanks for doing all you do, all your great shows, and man, being out there on the front lines.
You guys, as long as you guys are with me, I'm there.
You bet.
It's so awesome, man. I love your music, guys. It keeps getting better and better. Oh, it's so good. All the jingles and the songs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Talent.
Great. We got a great community.
Talent. I don't have any of that.
Great community. I don't have any of that either. We just got people that send us fantastic stuff. They're the best. We love you guys. We love you too, Alex. You're one of those people. You're one of our oldest running subscriptions. You're still on when we still accepted Canadian money.
Cool.
It's actually the very first Canadian subscription, or Alex. He finally got a new credit card and it dropped off a while ago. So it's just he switched to a new one, but it was just sad to see it go. Our very first subscription just. What are you gonna do? You start bitching about COVID and protests and stuff like that, and people get pissy.
That's okay.
That's it. If we were in it for the money, then we'd be telling you to wear a mask. Anyway,
buddy.
check out Skeptiko.com.
All right, guys. It's great.
Yeah,
hanging
thanks for all your
with you.
support.
It really was.
Yeah.
I do leave feeling better, even as
Awesome.
dark as it is.
Awesome.
So cool.
It's always
Thanks, buddy.
darkest before the light.
Thanks a lot.
That's
Yeah.
it. See
Bye,
ya.
Alex.
Bye.
That was a chat with Alex Tsakiris. What'd you think, buddy?
That was good. I got a little he sent out the pre-book. It's sort of half written, maybe 3/4 written. Got a chance to read it. Pretty good. So I recommend it to people.
When it comes out, in
Especially for
October?
people that don't listen to podcasting, because there's a lot of his podcast content in the book. And it's really good. Yeah, he's got Knowles in there and Miguel Connor and a lot of the guests that he talked about. Yeah.
Check it out. Of course, if you haven't checked out Alex's podcast, head over to Skeptiko.com or search Skeptiko with a K, any place that podcasts are found, and all his stuff. Of course, we were listening to Skeptiko and was one of the influences on us starting our podcast.
Definitely, yes. I sent him an email about UFOs like 10 years ago now, I think, or 12 years ago.
I think I seen an email fucking from way back in the day when I was searching something a while ago, and I was talking about how Skeptiko was one of the influences on the show, like back in 2013.
Yeah, yeah.
So we wouldn't be here without guys like Alex.
Because
He's been a huge help,
he
huge
wasn't
support.
into UFOs. He was a bit skeptical at the beginning, and he switched. He just follows that data, and he switched over. You know, he literally turned a corner on that.
flip-flopped.
Yeah. No. Well, no. Flip flop. Yeah, maybe flip flop, but not
just
flip flop
flipped.
back. He just flipped. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Don't flop.
Yeah, I flip flop.
You're like a beached whale. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, no problem.
So yeah, big thanks to Alex for coming on the show. Check out all his stuff. He's got his other book, Why Science is Wrong About Just About Everything. Or
Yep.
yeah, check that out. Check out his podcast. And while you're on the internet cruising around, check out our support page, Grimerica.ca/support. Help us pick up some of that COVID slack by signing up for a subscription today. Monthly, $1 a month, $2 a month, $50 a month. I think the highest monthly right now is $69, so you could try and beat that.
Wow, that's fantastic.
But we'd be happy
Holy
with
shit.
$1 a month.
Yeah.
It'd be wonderful. If all of you signed up for $1 a month, we could do a lot more of this kind of stuff. And we love you. We love the people that do support. We love you all, but if you're a supporter, we love you even more. So if you want some of that extra Grimerica love, Grimerica.ca/support. Sign up today. If you're getting some value from the show, maybe you're not. Maybe the show sucks. In that case, don't support. Show doesn't suck, support.
Review the show. Get up to 1,000, right? We want to do that.
Yeah, I didn't check what we're at, but I think we're at like 900 and some. So review the show wherever you can. Those are just the iTunes ones that I'm numbering. But, I mean, you can review it everywhere else, too. It doesn't hurt to have reviews and ratings, all that stuff. Check out the chats, Grimerica.ca/chats for all the up-to-date stuff. That's a good place to touch base with us. There's a spam room in there now. So if you don't want to email them, you can just leave show content in there. And yeah, it's good to be in there because we're working on a couple other things. Like I think we're finally going to jump off the cliff and join the Fediverse and get a Mastodon going. And I think that won't just be Grimerica. We're going to combine with the whole sort of crew from the unions and the unwanted with that. And we'll just get a whole sort of sidebar to Twitter and all this other bullshit. And yeah. So join the chats, sign up for the newsletter, support the show, be kind to each other. Got anything else?
That's it.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for everybody watching live, too. Appreciate it.
You're supposed to wait till I stop the recording before you just...
I thought you did.
No.
Oh, sorry, dude.
That's okay. I'll just have to edit that out.
Oh, poor guy.
It's future work. You made future work for me.
You'll forget about it.
I'll make it because...
I'll make a note in the show notes right now.
Yeah, we had like 50 or 60 people on the
thanks,
YouTube
guys.
feed earlier. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We love you. Wouldn't do it without you. Couldn't do it without you. We'll be back, next Wednesday? Do we have a show next Wednesday?
No, I don't think so.
Well, we're taking it
The
off
one
because
after
your
that,
mom's
yeah.
coming to town,
Yeah,
right?
It's my birthday.
And your
50th.
birthday. 50th?
You didn't even know?
I knew your birthday is July 11th.
Yeah.
But I don't know how old you are. I don't see age.
Yeah. You can't
So I'm so woke, I can't.
You're so woke, you don't see age.
I don't see age or color or anything.
Yeah.
Just fascism everywhere. You're not a boomer.
I know. That's the point. People get it mistaken all the time.
A boober. I don't think you're a boomer. We think you're a Gen Xer. No, I'm a Gen Xer.
I'm a Gen Xer.
I'm a millennial.
Yeah, I'm a Gen Xer.
I'll be a millennial for the show. All right, guys. So we're gonna take a week off, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with anyone?
The gardener guy. What's it called?
Permaculture.
Permaculture. Yeah.
My phone's. Yeah, that's right. Was it it's a double though?
No, it's not.
Not a double.
We'll make it a double.
We'll make it a
Maybe,
double.
maybe.
The other one will be a surprise. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in the live show. Have a nice night.